So, guys, a lot has been going on right now in Nigeria. A lot of people have been crying. Nigerians have been crying that things are not going on well. Here is what Senator Iriti Kingipi is saying. Because from her own perspective now, she dey try to blame Nigerian youth. She said her advice is to Nigerian youth and not to the government. You know, saying that them be the government. Obviously, she don't have anything for themselves. Instead of her to address the issue, she keeps shifting the blame to Nigerian youth. That Nigerian youth need to stand up, Nigerian youth need to do this. I'm going to drop the reaction. You guys will be shocked at what she said. Even when they are questioning it, she keeps saying that she does not have advice to the government, that all she have is advice to Nigerian youth. Just like what she said, that Nigerian youth, all they just do is to come to the social media, raise insults, talk and talk and talk. But what does she expect them to do? By rights, how do the people communicate to their president, to their leaders? Is it not by talking by communication? What is communication? Because I don't really understand our own understanding about communication. Nigerian youth, they come social media, they rant, they tell the government that things are not going on well. We are hungry. In as much as the government want to overlook those things, or either they want to overlook it or they feel say na normal, just like what the Senate president come out and talk say poverty is not a sin. Guys, this is the kind of people Iriti Kingipi dey talk say Nigerian youth need to write to. Wetin they want write to them? Because to her now, she said they need to write to the president. Wetin they want write to the president, where the Senate president himself they talk, say they tell Nigerians say una wey poverty no be sin. No, this is a man that have not seen poverty for in life. I don't know whether in growing days, whether he notice or see anything like poverty. But for how many years now this man has been in government, in family, no smell anything, in children no smell anything like poverty. And I believe he would not want his children to get married to anybody when no they within his league. Now that same man, they tell Nigerians say poverty is not a sin. And now that same man, Iriti Kingipi, want Nigerians to talk to. Guys, I don't really understand. And it's so painful that some of these same youth, then they make themselves available for these leaders to use. These leaders, they don't have the interest of Nigerians at heart. It's very obvious. If they are giving you 10 million, they have made thousands of trillions of dollars from that 10 million. Where did they give you? Now, waiting, our youth no seems to understand. They are always comfortable with that peanut. But how will your children grow? That is the reason why this country, Nigeria, keep growing, keep going from worse to worse, from worse to worse. No hope at all. Because the ones who are supposed to stand and fight for the people, just there collecting that little peanut, just to get themselves fueled for now, which is really, really bad. And Nigeria, they fail every day. Guys, you will be shocked what is coming out from a leader that Nigerians are looking up to. You will be really, really shocked. I will drop it for you guys to watch. Please watch to the end and drop your honest comment with us in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Subscription is for free. It's just for you to be getting updates. Also help us to like this video and share the video so that YouTube can recommend it to others. Nigerian youth, I really need to see the kind of people one they call leaders. As in, I don't know what I want to talk for this matter, but make una see for yourself.
I have said it. Nigerian youths, they are complacent. They are quiet. All they do is grumble. We need to have constructive interaction. Do you understand? All I hear is grumblings and insults. That's not helpful. Do you understand? You guys, the country belongs to the youth. They should own it. Instead of a proper, program or agenda, they will threaten a strike that, of course, everybody knows they're not going to go on. How does that achieve anything? But as he said, Nigeria is a Mayday, Mayday. I agree.
Your advice? Your advice?
My advice? The Nigerian government. My advice is to the Nigerian youth. My advice to Nigerian people. This is your country. Own it. You have another country. I don't have another country. So we have to make it work. We have to do whatever is necessary to reclaim our country, whatever is necessary to make sure that this country works for everybody.
People are saying that the government should cut costs.
I agree. Government should cut costs. So, why should they cut costs? Have you made them cut costs? Tell me, have you? Other than you should.
But Nigeria has been putting pressure on the government.
How?
To reduce cost of government.
How?
Every year.
Every year, what do you do to put pressure on the government? That by telling them that they should. I haven't seen a concerted complaint. I really haven't. And all I see is most people is about me. You understand? If I'm not, your direction to get things for other people may vary. Your direction may be very different from his, and vice versa. But let us see something. I want to see something. I'm sure other leaders want to see something. But all I see are young people who complain and constantly just insult their leaders. But they do not constructively engage the leaders. Do you understand? The leaders are already your leaders.
Can you give us an example of constructive criticism?
Okay. Now you tell me something that really bothers you. Okay? All right. We all complain about the Minister of FCT. Right? Please tell me what you people all do. The minister is an emissary of the president. The president is the de facto. Is it a letter you guys have written to the president? Is it a complaint? Is it a platform? Tell me. None. All you do is insult him, insult the minister, insults me. How does that get you anything? Do you understand my point? I want to see things that will make a difference. Oh, we don't like this. We need you to do A, B, C, D. Okay, if you don't do it, we will do X, Y, Z. And then do X, Y, Z if they don't do it. And I'm sure most of the time, if you put enough pressure on any government, governments are defined by the well-being of the people. If you put enough pressure on any government, they will. It's not enough to say, I don't want dodo, but you don't say what you want to eat. Do you understand what I'm saying? So my advice is not to government, it's to you, the youth of the country. Constructive is the word, not just criticizing and insults. Constructive. That's my advice. And especially to my constituents, who all they do is complain about how much they hate the minister. Tell the minister and me what you want. Maybe he might do it. Maybe I might get him to do it. But I need to know what you want, other than the things I already know, like no water, no schools, no hospitals. Tell me the other things.
But the other things are not being done too.
Have you mentioned them?
We need to mention them.
Of course you do. For instance, I have certain solutions to youth unemployment. You can't give them jobs in the office. Give them farmlands, 1 hectare. Minister of Agric, give them inputs. Everybody go to the farm. You tell us that, let's propose it, let's work out the modalities and see whether you comply. But you just say, I don't have work, I don't have this. So how can we help you other working in an office? You want governance to reduce, right? So office work is not an option. What are the other options? Do you understand? Before you elected me, I told you that governance is synergy between the governed and the leaders. I don't see the synergy since I got elected. All I see are complaints and insults.
The 2027 elections may seem distant, but for a generation tired of waiting, the time to act is now. With over 70% of Nigeria's population under 30, the youth aren't just voters, they could be a political force, a movement, and the heartbeat of a nation in transition. But if the youth are the majority, why do they still feel marginalized? Why does it seem to many of them that their concerns are often sidelined in manifestos? And why do their votes rarely translate to real influence? Peter Aka joins us again this morning, human rights advocate, civic educator, a tireless voice for the youth inclusion. He's here to help us unpack how young Nigerians can set the agenda before the political class does it for them. Peter, welcome again to the show. Peter the Rock.
An absolute pleasure being here again.
It's so refreshing.
One of the fastest comeback.
But somebody has you beat. Somebody, we had a conversation so good, we had to bring them back and be like 2 days later. But it's good to see you again. Thank you so much, Peter, and happy Easter in arrears. So before we get into how the Nigerian youth can set an agenda for themselves in 2027, let's stay a little bit in the present. The National Youth Conference was announced by the president during his speech on October 1st, 2024. It was initially slated for February of this year, but the planning committee was eventually inaugurated on March the 10th, 2025. Since then, we barely have heard anything much about the Youth Confab. If we were to go on just how everything around the Confab has been playing out, what would you think that says about how the Tinubu administration regards Nigerian youth?
There is complete disregard to every aspect of the nation. It's not just the youth. And then again, if even they go ahead with implementing the youth conference, it will only end up being another APC youth rally, because the government has its way of, politicizing whatever they do. And then the devil will be in the detail in terms of implementation of whatever are the recommendations that may even come out from Nigerian youths. So it is one thing to propose a conference and another thing to have the sincerity of political will to follow through with whatever will be the genuine fallout of that, meeting. So that is where we are as a people.
Well, I know that the conference is expected to include virtual consultations. That means maybe online platforms where a lot of youth can, put in their words. We're supposed to have something like regional meetings and a final week in Abuja. Even when I see all this layout, I know how much money. Please put me in the planning committee. We'll talk about youth participation in governance to make their voices heard. That's supposed to be the pivot of all these discussions. But if you're given a chance, Peter, would you like to take part in this national youth conference?
I basically believe that it will be a charade. Look, let us be honest and sincere with ourselves and be very straight. Nigeria does not need another youth conference. Everybody that is in Nigeria today, whether those in power and out of power, know the problems that we are facing. The president has certain reports that are at his disposal. There is a 2014 National Conference report that was put together by the Jonathan administration. During the Labour Congress protest last year for minimum wage increase, the president came out with the implementation of a Stephen Oronsaye report that has become the rush hour report for every Nigerian government that finds itself in a difficult position. What happened with the implementation of Oronsaye report? There is a Justice Uwe's panel on electoral reform that the federal government also has access to. What is happening with all these reforms? So what gives us the guarantee that the youth conference will become the silver bullet? Nigerian politicians are not sincere in purpose with what they are doing. And the Nigerian youth must rise above that occasion and become very strategic, because guess what? Nigerian leaders may not know how to deliver good governance, but it doesn't mean they do not know corruption. The system you seek to change has been in place for more than 60 years. Nigeria is almost an open crime scene. So you must be strategic. Gathering people for a political charade and funfair would not solve the issues. We must decide what we believe that are the solutions and then implement it, and not the other way around. Your oppressors calling you to come and sit down to discuss. I will not be part of that.
Wow. But there's going to be hotel staycations.
The what?
There'll be staycations. There'll be hotels.
Let's move on.
So some people would say that Nigerian youth are politically aware, but they're not politically strategic, right? And I think that leads to a lot of square pegs in round hole situation, because we don't know how best to approach the situation. So how would you say that Nigerian youth can shift from being just aware to actually producing influence?
I would want to say that a good number of Nigerians are aware of the issues that, bedeviled every Nigerian. The question is, what is the solution and how do we approach this solution? We have over time decided to take on this knee-jerk reaction to, protest and mass protest. Whenever something comes up, hit the street and make a demand. But over time, we have seen that it has been proven not to be very effective. Because the government will come out and tell you, okay, is it end bad governance? Don't worry, we'll release the cost of rice, we will release bags of rice to you and all of that. And then everybody goes in. And there is also a bad side, because there is protest fatigue. When you call out people for a protest and then it does not meet the target, the danger in it is that you fall short of getting that kind of mass support in a second call. That was what happened with NSAS. Now, what the call for Nigerians will be, every sector in Nigeria is in trouble. The only systems that are doing well is corruption and criminality. There have been mass, in fact, within the last 1 week, more than 150 persons have been killed in Plateau alone. And the president is still out of the country since the 2nd of April. This is the same president who criticized Jonathan and say, when it comes to security, the buck stops at the president's desk. Today, the president is missing in action when citizens are being slaughtered in the most gruesome manner. Why? Because he knows that, of course, it has no implication to his 2027 agenda. Travel through Abuja and Lagos, you will see placards of President Tinubu talking about 2027. So Nigerians will now have to decide what are our problems and what is the first step to, beginning our findings or solutions. Because you can't solve all. We take on one that gives you the foundation to begin to change others. That is where the Nigerian youth conversation must be centered on at this point.
But can we do that though? I mean, I hear you and saying that the call for we need to understand where we are going as a people and what to demand. And we have to be, the way you put it, we have to pick something that has a ripple effect. That will probably touch all the others, but it has to have a foundational grasp on one. And if we use that, if we hold on to that one with our dear lives, then change can begin to come.
Exactly.
But do you think political parties are just using the youth to catch trips? Like, look at between now and 2027. You said it.
Yes.
We already heard over the weekend that some governors from PDP are moving to APC and looking at the 2027 agenda. So my question will be, what do you think is the kind of pressure that we need between now and 2027 to apply to ensure that the youth, what the youth want is heard?
The pressure that needs to be applied at this point will be maximum civil pressure on the National Assembly to amend the Electoral Act. And Nigerians guarantee that there should be free, fair, and credible elections in 2027. Other than that, if you look at the permutations that are going on, a few days ago, the Minister for FCT held a media conference where he boastfully said that Peter Obi cannot win. In Nigeria, it is not about the best. If you look at the trend, the arrogance of the ruling party is in the fact that they know that there is disenfranchisement of the people. You know, the democratization of disenfranchisement. Without your vote or not, we are going to come back. That is why when you have failed in the first 2 years, you are talking about a second term. So now Nigerians will go, but when you talk about electoral reforms, a lot of Nigerians are scared. And what we fail to understand is this. INEC and the National Assembly already presented a caveat, but it was very sinister. The Electoral Act provided for electronic transmission of results, but it made it optional for INEC. The simple protest Nigerian youth must do today, following this 30-day challenge, is going back to the National Assembly. That section 65 that says the presiding officer at the polling unit can transmit results in a manner chosen by INEC must be taken out and replaced with mandatory. And then any other clause that if you want to get independent candidacy, because what they have done is to hijack political party registration. You cannot register a new political party. Look, Nigerian youth know what to do. They know the problems, and they are not attached to one person. You saw what they did with the obedient movement. They proved that we can be our own people. But the system failed the Nigerian youth.
But even the Nigerian
Hold the thought. Catherine, just hold it like this. We have to go on a quick timeout. There's more on this conversation when we come back. Setting the youth agenda for 2027. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the youth participation, their preparation towards 2027. And of course, we have Peter Aka in the building talking to us about it. If you're under 35 in Nigeria, you've probably heard it before. You are the leaders of tomorrow. I don't like this term. It reminds me of my childhood, honestly. But tomorrow keeps coming, and the power keeps staying elsewhere. Today on Jasiri, we are asking, what will it take for young Nigerians to stop being political spectators and start becoming real power brokers? With the 2027 elections on the horizon, the moment isn't about waiting to be included. It's about setting the agenda now, loud and clear. Peter Aka is still with us. Peter, let's be honest. The youth have been hearing this future you are the future. It's been on for I cannot lie to you. When I was a young child, we used to have this vision 2020. It was 2020.
We did already.
Yes, and it was something that we looked, it was hopeful. I can't lie to you. When you hear that vision, you feel as if, everything is just going to come together this year. And the year came and brought for us COVID.
Vision 2030.
But the system doesn't even reflect our voice. Why do you think young Nigerians continue to be excluded from real power? Is it structural? Or is this something that we brought upon ourselves that is self-inflicted? Because there are many angles to it. How is that happening?
You know, in fairness to the Nigerian youth, we have found ourselves in a dilemma where we need to undo the mess of past and previous generations, and also the ones that we have also created. Because you ask yourself exactly, the generations ahead, what exactly was left on ground for the Nigerian youth? And now we are stuck in a situation where we need to now begin to unravel this thing. Unfortunately for Nigeria, there is no worst case scenario, because the fact that things are this bad do not mean it will not become worse for us as a people. That is why the Nigerian youth today has been scrambling for whatever solution they can hang on. We came up with NSAS, they fired live arms at us. We came up with End Bad Governance, they decided to arrest us. As we are talking, there are some End Bad Governance, NSAS protesters who are still in prison. As we are talking, more than 5 years, going to 5 years after that protest. In fact, the Lagos state government has not even agreed to how many persons' bodies were found in the morgue who turned off the lights. It is still a challenge. So when you see the burden that is on the Nigerian youth, but my plea and my call, what I have been seeking and becoming almost a broken record, is that we must be strategic. If you go on social media, you hear certain persons begin to tell you about revolution now, my uncle Showore, who I so much respect. The question you will ask yourself is, if there is a revolution today, and for example, the president leaves, who takes over? That is the Vice President Shetima. The third in succession is Akpabio, or you want to go through the military route. And even when there is a total removal of, you must still have an electoral process where somebody who has the legitimacy to rule or lead will be brought in. So if you look at our entire dilemma, it boils back to an electoral process. That is why what I'm doing now is citizen sensitization. I will personally take a letter to the National Assembly in due course. I will begin my own one-man protest, because that is the only way we can begin to unravel this. When everybody in Nigeria begins to sing about INEC and elections, they will get the point. President Tinubu knows. God's will Akpabio, the Senate president, knows.
Okay. So you feel we should attack from base. In other words, when I say attack, not literally, but let's focus the problem. Let's focus attention on the problem, and the problem here is the base.
Yes.
Is the way that politicians
get into power. Look, forget about anything economy. Don't talk about, if President Tinubu does not want to fix inflation, let him not fix. If he doesn't want to fix insecurity, let him not fix.
Let's start.
Get a means to hold him accountable in 2027 and see. Let a politician know that this system can bring me in and this system can take me out. Then go there and don't deliver.
Do you not think that this hour we have the odds stacked against us? Because I remember during the electoral process how difficult it was made for you to be able to get your voters card. I believe that abroad you can actually go to your local government from time to time and get your voters.
It's as seamless as
but INEC will tell you that there are a couple millions of voter cards that have yet to be collected. Even up to the election, I think up to a week or so before the elections, they were making news, come and collect your voters card. But I want to ask you something, because you talked about when all of us face one issue at a time, we will get a resolution. Are the issues that urban youth and rural youth facing the same? Because you often seem to see a disconnect between youth in urban areas and youth in rural areas when it comes to mobilization. There's even a geopolitical regional divide that comes into it as well. So how do you get young people to bridge the divide that truly will create a national youth agenda, a national youth movement? Because we saw it with End Bad Governance, I believe, even NSARS, where we were told that some places in this country were told not to come out and join the protest. In End Bad Governance, we saw a governor come out and thank his young people for not taking part in the protest. So you see that it often looks like we're not all, I'm not a youth, sorry, all the youth are not on the same page.
Youth at heart.
Thank you very much.
Look, the truth of the matter is, when you see certain of these divisions, although they exist, but they are also the handwork of evil and corrupt politicians. They know how to throw stones of division. Look, there is nothing that unites a people than their collective pain and suffering. Every Nigerian today knows that the price of a liter of petrol is higher. The cost of a bag of rice is higher. They know that power has been epileptic in certain or most areas of the country. Even those who are on certain bands A to Z are paying through their nose strills. So now what it means is that if you bring the agenda of electoral reform, everybody in Nigeria has been a victim. There are certain persons in Borno State today who have a senator that they did not vote for, who did not contest through the primaries. He's there through the judiciary. If you look at what happened in Kano, remember that when the governorship election went to the tribunal, it was upheld at the High Court. It was turned down by the appeal court. When they saw the reaction from the Kano State citizens at the Supreme Court, they decided to realign. In fact, there were allegations that there were 2 judgments that were kept to be released on the day of that ruling. Every Nigerian knows that elections, when you talk about underage voting and all the beginning of what do they call it, inconclusive election, it began with Kano State, with President Buhari in 2019. Nigerian youth just need a level of sensitization and mobilization. That is what everybody will be talking about, including CSOs, because at some point it seems like we are more interested in protesting about the problems than solving them. Because maybe solving them puts certain persons out of business. So if we really want to take the root causes of the matter, it should be an aggressive citizen sensitization. Every Nigerian is a victim of bad governance, including those who are wealthy. Only the thieves or criminals in Nigeria today will not complain. Everybody is being touched by the hand of incompetence.
You know, sorry. We have to go for a break. We'll be right back.
Yes, so we're still having the conversation on youth sensitization and
we are in the final moments of our conversation with Peter Aka on setting the youth agenda for 2027. Peter, what would a real youth agenda for 2027 be like, and beyond the slogans? What are the top 3 non-negotiable young people? What should young people be pushing for? I mean, top 3. Like if you have to say 1, 2, 3. So that everybody, you've been talking about an agenda, a single focus. What if you have to itemize it in 3 spaces? What would 1, 2, 3 be?
Nigerian youths, our focus number 1 is INEC, number 2 INEC, number 3 INEC. By the time you are done with INEC, you can talk about constitutional reform, judicial reform, law enforcement reform, but it must begin by sending people into power who have the competence and character to reform. It will begin by realizing the dilemma we are today. What the current administration is providing for Nigeria is the textbook definition of how not to govern a country. Nigeria almost exists so that other countries can learn how not to govern their countries. It is a criminality and corruption Armageddon. And if you do nothing by 2027, it will only get worse.
But see, Peter, when you say all of this, when you look at the numbers, in totality, National Assembly members, State House of Assembly members, governors, presidents, ministers, they are what? Maybe 1, maybe 2% of the totality of the Nigerian population. Meanwhile, they seem to hold everybody's lives and everybody's possibilities in their hands. Are we not responsible for allowing the situation to get to where it is?
We are. Our people go say, now the way you see that night cameraman go snap you. The truth of the matter is that Nigerians are in a hostage situation, and we have failed to realize. In fact, a lot of Nigerians are rather cooperating with the persons who took you hostage. That is the Stockholm syndrome. That is why today we can see the arrogance that is going on. And what we are observing is a dangerous state capture, where the National Assembly, who should be performing oversight, have literally become an APC town hall. It is an extension of the executive. The judiciary is gone. Now, Nigerians must find the courage and the wisdom to, 1, be strategic, and 2, be firm. Nation building is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Everything will not turn around in a moment. Take 1 strategic step at a time. Secure that foundation, then we can build on it.
So let's go back. I'm so sorry. Let's go back to the National Assembly. The National Assembly in totality is not made up of APC. There's PDP, there's LP, there's in some, I think NNPP as well. And one of the things I was really expecting from these other parties was to see bills, was to see action and conversations and conversations that reflect what was really happening. You have the party in power, then you have those who are in opposition. And I'm sorry to say, for many of them, opposition parties have disappointed the National Assembly because they seem to align with everything that the party in power is doing. Yeah. But so we have opposition. We have people voted for thinking, okay, you're not all laying down and facing the same direction. What happens to them?
Ms. Lu, let us be honest with ourselves. Nigeria should not pretend that we don't know what we are experiencing. What is going on at the federal level has a template that has been fully implemented in Lagos State. President Tinubu is not a normal politician. A senator stood up and told you on national TV that the National Assembly is not opposition friendly and it's not women friendly. There was a recent video where a former Senate minority leader, Senator Inaya Kotabaribe from Abia State, had to walk out of the National Assembly when the presiding officer refused another opposition lawmaker an opportunity to raise a bill. What do you think happened with Senator Natasha? When you talk about state capture, it is the executive wielding its entire power to ensure that anybody who tries to be a voice of dissent is put this way. That is what is going on in the National Assembly. And if you know the enormous, and this is not trying to hold place for the opposition lawmakers, because they are a huge disappointment. If you cannot stand up and speak up for a time like this, then what do you expect from defenseless persons like us? People who are on the street with your security, with your money, you decide to be on the same bed with the persons who are oppressing Nigerians. That is why Nigerians must decide that we are tired of the entire system. In the words of the Reverend Tunde Bakari, you saw his State of the Union address. He said, what we are seeing is political banditry. It is motopark politics. Literally, that is what is going on. For Reverend Tunde Bakari to come up with such a scathing rebuke of the Tinubu presidency, Nigerian youth must decide to come together and say, enough.
Okay, I would have dabbled in the...
Because we have a few things to say.
I know, trust me, I would have dabbled.
Tunde Bakari has also dined at the table.
I mean, he's a part of them.
If all of us are supposed to bring the religious institutions, okay, we can't do it on our own, the youth cannot do it on our own, Nigerians cannot do it on our own, let's get these religious bodies to the table. Guys, can you help us? Because whether they like it or not, we, oh God,
one of the most hypocritical sects is the religious institution.
We find succor, we find solace in the churches. So can we not use the church to steamroll and say that, okay, the churches and the traditional institutions, the religious institutions, are homes to millions of people.
Everybody.
We have confidence in them. So why are we not using that again? As
recently, a pastor stood on his altar and said, we don't accept bashing of politicians here. If we continue in that line, then it's a problem.
Because Nigerians, we are dancing around. Unfortunately, religious and traditional institutions are just appendages of the political class. When you talk about the Nigerian elite, it includes religious leaders. The most hypocritic set of persons. You do not hear them talk about election and where to vote. After election, they crawl out of their holes and begin to tell you to pray for the government. They are a part of why the Nigerian citizenry have been held down. And that is why with all our number of religious institutions, we do not have any meaningful impact. Everybody prays in a mosque. Everybody prays in a church. Who is stealing money in government?
Ghosts. Let me ask a final question because we don't have any more time. Peter, this is what happens. But one thing I want you to hammer on, because I think people might feel like we are creating mountains out of molehills if young people don't want to get involved. There's a statistic that we put up about the number of young people who are now part of the voting electorate. And by 2027, that number is going to swell again because millions more young Nigerians will turn 18 and have the right to vote. But are they involved? Are they interested? Their focus mainly is on Japa or finding a way to sort of make enough money to isolate themselves from the issues of Nigeria. So my last question to you is this. What is your biggest fear if young people don't mobilize properly ahead of 2027? And what is your biggest hope that if they do, this is what will happen? Very quickly.
I do not fear for Nigerian youths. I believe that we have the requisite courage and capacity. We need leadership that is strong, strategic, and firm. My hope is that Nigerian youths have proven before that they can build something out of nothing. What we need to do right now is to begin a challenge. Tell President Tinubu to come out and state clearly that if you are a Democrat, Your Excellency, commit to free and fair elections in 2027. If he fails to commit to, we must ensure that we mount maximum civil pressure as peaceful Nigerian youths and get what we need from this system, or else we have more years of lamentation.
And let me tell you, politicians are ahead of you. This 2027 we're talking about. People have already done permutations, they've done assessments, they've done if this happens, if this person joins this party. There is analysis going on that the Nigerian electorate is not even catching up to.
Let's not dampen our spirits before we begin. If we say we can, we can. It always seems impossible until it is done.
All right. We have to go because they're in my ear. No more time. But thank you so much, Peter. As always, it's a pleasure having these conversations with you. And seeing you as a young person be so involved and interested and aware, knowledgeable. That's very important for us.